Hi everyone. Today we will discuss in detail about the rise of communalism in India. We have seen that communalism has been posing a threat to the development of the nation. It has been always been a threat to the democratic institutions, to the democracy of the nation. Communalism has been posing a very serious threat to the Indian democracy. So we have to trace out when did this started. We can see when we study about the origin of communalism, it started during the British period. The Britishers or the British historians, they have been propagating that communism has been there in India during the Mughal period or during the Sultanate period. There were invasions, and the Hindus and the Muslims were fighting each other, and communalism has been there, and that was the interpretation of the British. But the truth is entirely different. Of course, there were battles going on here between the Hindu kings and the Muslim kings, but there were no communal riots or communal struggles going on. Those fight between the kings were basically focused for political power. But when we analyze about the communal riots going on there in the colonial period and there after the colonial period, we can see that's basically a fight between two religions or between the fundamentalist sections of two religions. How did it start? We can see that the Britishers they very cleverly implemented the policy of divide and rule in India. When they came to India, India was much prosperous. People were living very harmoniously here. Uh, while we discuss about the period when the Britishers reached here, the Indians were much developed in trade, much developed in economic affairs, and the Britishers they very cleverly they began to spoil the Indian industries and they began to capture the power over here. Lord Macaulay in 1835 he wrote a letter to the British authorities. He traveled far and wide in India and he conveyed a message to the British that this bit of land is much prosperous. People are living very harmoniously over here. They are living very peacefully. We cannot hold this bit of land if the people are much harmonious like this. From that point onwards, the British authorities or the British people over here, they may be thinking about dividing the people on the basis of religion. Then we have seen during the riot of revolt of 1857. During that revolt, we witnessed the joint efforts of all the people over here in India. Rani Lakshmi Bai, Nana Sahib, they belong to the Hindu community. Nana Sahib was a Maratha. You can see Asimullah Khan, Ahmad Shah, Bahadur Shah, they belong to the Muslim community. They all joined together and fought the British. And this was a danger alarm bell to the British. So they decided to implement this divide and rule policy. Then, from that point onwards, we can see during the legislations for India, we can see how cleverly the Britishers inculcated the divide and rule policy here in India. In 1905, Bengal was divided on the basis of religion. The Britishers may be saying that Bengal was divided for administrative purpose. But actually, the East Bengal, consisting of Muslim majority, and the West Bengal, consisting of the Hindu majority, was divided into two for very effectively for flaring up the communal feeling. From there, then in the future, we have seen how Muslim League was born. The Muslim League was born only because the Britishers started to appease the Muslim community. They understood that it was not easy for them to hold this bit of land and control this bit of land if such sort of nationalism is rising in India. Ever since the formation of Indian National Congress in 1885, We have seen how nationalism began to grow in India. So anyhow, the Britishers, they wanted to spoil, they wanted to scatter the nationalism or the nationalist ferment in India. The Hindus and the Muslims were jointly, they were rallied under the umbrella of Indian National Congress, and they were protesting against the Britishers. They wanted more privileges. They went into the streets. The Britishers were much annoyed. They began to implement the divide and rule policy through legislations. We have seen the separate electorate, the communal award. We have seen all those things were very cleverly implemented by the Britishers for scattering the communal unity, and this was the brainchild of the Britishers. The communities in India, especially the Hindus and the Muslims, they were having their own differences. That's a fact. But those differences were exaggerated. The Britishers, they propagated a notion that Hindus and Muslims, they cannot coexist together. Their education, their policy of education, they began to propagate through their policy of education that Hindus and Muslims are of different entities and they cannot coexist together. Unfortunately, some people over here in India, especially those people who stood for the two nation theory, like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and their forefathers like Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who gave birth to the Muslim League, they were also in favor of the Britishers. I'm concluding. Communalism is the product of the British. It was not there in India before the advent of the British. The Britishers, they brought the communal divide between the Hindus and Muslims over there for their existence in India, and that gave birth to Pakistan and India, two nations that divided our nation into two. All those communal riots, all those communal antagonism that happened during the partition, the basic root cause of all those religious antagonism and communal hatred, that accounts to the policy of the British, the divide and rule policy of the British. Thank you.